Lieutenant Lara.
Lieutenant, have you been sworn?
Yesterday, sir.
All right, very good. Have a seat.
Thank
Your
you.
witness.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Lorenzo Lara Jr.
Are you employed by the McAllen Police Department?
Yes, sir, I am.
And what, are you a law enforcement officer?
Yes, I am.
What is your rank or title?
I'm a lieutenant of patrol.
How long have you worked with McAllen Police Department?
I started back in 1981. I resigned in 86, 88, and returned to McAllen in 89.
How long have you worked as a lieutenant?
As a lieutenant, around July or August of 1999.
So about 10 years now?
Roughly, yes.
As a lieutenant, do you have supervisory duties?
Yes, sir, I do.
And are those supervisory duties primarily over the patrol division?
Patrol division, yes, sir.
I've heard the term also used as like a watch lieutenant or watch commander. Is that basically what does that mean?
Okay, if you make reference to a commander, I'm in charge of a shift. Unless you're referring to an acting shift commander during my absence, I don't know which one you're referring to.
I'm talking about what you do as a lieutenant.
Yes, we're in charge of the shift commanders. Actually, we're in charge of the whole city during the absence of chief, the captains.
Okay.
During that shift, we have the responsibility.
And your responsibility involves the law enforcement responsibilities that go on throughout the city. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
And as a lieutenant, the city the department works on a 24/7 operation, correct?
That is correct, sir.
7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Yes,
Are those days are divided into 3 separate shifts?
yes,
And my understanding is that the day shift starts at 6 in the morning and ends at 2 in the afternoon?
that is correct, sir.
Okay. And then the second one is from 2 to 10
That is correct, sir.
in the evening, and then the third shift is from 10 to 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when, as a lieutenant and you're in charge of any one of those shifts, does that vary? Do you rotate through the different shifts?
Every 3 months, sir.
Is that true for everyone on the shift? Patrol
Well-
officers and lieutenants?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, all shifts, the evening shift is the strongest shift, it has more personnel, so not everybody rotates. Some are left behind due to the manpower needed during the 2 to 10 shift.
Okay. There's some
But
adjustments.
the majority will rotate.
Okay, in other words, there's some adjustments that have to do with the need for manpower at any given time.
Yes, sir.
All right. But generally speaking, there is a practice of rotating through these shifts.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me direct your attention to a set of reports that were prepared by you. In front of you is an exhibit notebook there, and there's in the notebook number 2, tab number 9, it has your name on it. It says Lara. I think I had it open there for you.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And let me direct your attention to the first report there. Were you on duty on December 3rd, 2008?
Yes, sir, I was.
And were you on the afternoon shift? In other words, the 2 to 10 shift?
2 to 10, yes, sir.
And this report that we're looking at on the first report, I'm going to just take you through these reports to identify them and then have them offered into evidence. So I want you to describe, the documents, if you would. What is this first page of this tab number 9?
Okay, on December the 3rd, it's regarding, it was reported to me as a hit and run accident. by Sergeant de la Rosa by phone.
Okay. I'm going to take you through what the report says. Let me just get you to tell us about, to authenticate the reports first. This indicates a report on 12/17/08 to the Chief of Police, subject hit and run with a case number there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that your signature at the bottom of that page?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is this a report authored by you or prepared by you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is the subject matter of this report a reported hit-and-run accident that happened on or about December 3rd, 2008?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was this the one involving Officer Castaneda?
Yes.
Okay. And does this report capture the information that you had about this incident up to December 17th, up to the point when you prepared this report?
Can you please ask?
Does this report, is it about the things that you did or what you learned from the time of the report, the December 3rd, up until the time that you dated this report?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, behind that page, there's a second page that has the same heading, 12/17/08, subject hit and run. Is that the second page of the same report? This one starts, since I had questions regarding the hit and run.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that the second page of the first report?
If it's dated the same date, yes, sir, it is the second page.
Okay, and I just want to identify, to make sure that whether it's a separate report or whether it's part of all one report, okay? There's a third page there, which also seems to be a continuation of the prior pages. And this one starts, Officer Macias and I. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Is that part of the same report?
Yes.
Okay, so these 3 pages are part of one report prepared by you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me take you to flip to the next page after that, if you would, please. Appears to be another IDC with your name from Lorenzo Lara to Chief Rodriguez, subject Sergeant de la Rosa / Officer Karina Castaneda, and it's got a date of January 9. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is the content of this report also information that you had or that you were aware of that you're now reducing to writing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's your signature below?
Yes, sir, it is.
The subject matter of this appears to involve an incident involving Officer Castaneda that had happened earlier in the summer of 2008. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, and in this particular report, are you explaining or recounting what information you had about that incident?
The only information that
That you knew about?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, behind that page, there's another report that is dated February 17 from you to the chief, subject reporting for duty. Is that your signature also?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And what is this report about?
This report is a couple of days that I could not account for Sergeant de la Rosa's absence from duty.
Okay, would that have been the February 7th and 8th?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, where you had expected him to come to work and he did not show up for work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so this is a report by you about, your knowledge as far as that incident. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, behind that page, there's what appears to be an email from you to various individuals. Is this a document, an email from you? Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir, that's,
What is it?
I think the one dated February the 17th is what I consider the violation of policy. And I believe the following one is me responding to, probably to the complaint or something.
Okay. Does this email, let me break this down. Is this your email? Is this
Yeah.
a copy of your email?
Well, we call it an IDC, Departmental Communication Form. But that is mine, that's my signature,
Okay,
that's mine.
but behind it, there's an email page, or maybe you might look.
Oh, the email, the following page, yes, sir, that's
Yes.
my email. During my absence, that's what I sent the sergeant, so they'll know what to do during my absence.
Okay, so who are the people that you're sending this email to?
The sergeants that work with me in the shift,
Okay, and the document reflects Mario Garcia as one of the sergeants,
yes, sir,
okay? Eduardo de la Rosa,
yes, sir,
Lucas Torres Jr.,
yes, sir,
okay? And Elizabeth Trevino,
yes, sir,
okay? And they're the sergeants that work under you and work on the same rotation that you do,
yes, sir.
okay? Is this an email that you sent to them on or about February 6th, 09, about, you know, who was going to be doing what and who was going to be working?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so does this email relate to the IDC of February 17, 2009? I mean, does it back up information having to do with that absence from work issue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'll take you through some more detail on that later. Okay, there are some other documents behind that. A Chronos adjustment request. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is a Chronos adjustment request?
It is a form that we fill out whenever the Chronos time clock will not show the hours that we work. We gotta let personnel know what to enter, or else we're gonna be short for the
Okay.
pay period, or it will not reflect, if this form is not given to personnel, what's on the time clock will not reflect what the officer is saying that he worked.
Okay. And it looks like we've got two of them here. One of them involves an employee named Robert Del Angel, and then the bottom one reflects Eduardo de la Rosa. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I don't know, I can't tell whether this is just because of how they got copied. The one that matters for our purposes today is the bottom one, is it not, Eduardo de la Rosa?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the one at the top does not relate to what we're doing here today, correct?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
Okay. And do you recognize this Chronos adjustment request as being in Sergeant de la Rosa's handwriting?
Yes, sir, it looks similar to his handwriting.
And is that his signature there?
Yes.
Now, behind that form, do you recognize this document? It looks like a computer printout, also called Chronos, with Sergeant de la Rosa's name on it. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is that?
That is what the Chronos, when he swipes in, swipes out, that is, or he tells community personnel his status, he submits a request for, in this case, vacation, they will enter it. But this will be a reflection actually of the time clock. When you clock in, clock out, that's where that's the form will show as registered. In this case, he was on vacation, so there's no clock in, clock out
Okay.
on certain dates.
The time period that is covered in this particular report looks like it's from February 109 through February 1409, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so the time period that is of interest to us today, it has to do with what he was doing, or what he did in regard to the 7th and the 8th, which is covered within this time period, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, I will ask you some more, but do you recognize this as a city document, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the page after that has a title at the top, says absentee form. What is that, sir?
That's a form we use to request vacation, when we return from sick leave. Everything that's listed on the left side of it, that's the purpose, plus we have another for military or suspensions or anything else goes under the other.
Is
That
this
is,
something, is this a document that would be routinely submitted to you for approval?
We are required to submit it when we request leave, and we are required to submit it when we return from whatever it is that we were on. Sick leave, vacation,
Okay,
comp time, we are required to submit one when we return.
okay, and when it is submitted by your subordinate officers, whether an officer or a sergeant, does it have to be approved by someone? By you or by someone else in the chain of command?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This one appears to be one submitted by Officer De La Rosa.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that?
It looks like it's signature again, yes.
Okay. And is this the one that reflects how his time was carried or calculated in the February of this year?
Yes, sir. Certain dates, yes.
Okay. The days here appear to be Saturday, January 31st through Sunday, February 8th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And on this particular document, Friday, it says worked in that box. Do you see that?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Friday would have been the 6th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know, is Friday, would that have been Sergeant De La Rosa's usual day off?
Yes, sir.
So here he's indicating that he worked on Friday. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he in fact work on Friday? Doing his usual sergeant's duties?
No, sir.
Okay. What was he doing on Friday?
He had a hearing, an appeal hearing at City Hall.
Okay. Was that his own appeal hearing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when it says here that he worked, was he working the way, like, as a sergeant's duties out in the field?
No, sir, he wasn't.
Did you approve this document?
No, sir.
Okay. Did somebody else approve this document?
Yes, sir, the Sergeant Arenas, that's his signature at the bottom left.
Okay. Do you know why Sergeant Arenas approved it instead of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what is that? What is the explanation for that?
He was a senior sergeant on duty. I had called in sick. I called in sick Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It was the end of the pay period. He had to, during my absence, he would be the one to sign off on it.
Okay. Do you know if he knew about any of the circumstances surrounding Sergeant De La Rosa's claim that he worked on Friday?
No, sir, I don't think he knew about it.
Okay. And you're saying that the 9th or the 8th was the end of the pay period?
Sunday, the 8th would have been the end of the pay period.
Okay. And would this document have had to be turned in before the end of the pay period or at the end of the pay
At the
period?
end of the pay period, we usually try to submit everything by 5 o'clock Monday or early Tuesday morning, but I return to work until Thursday, I believe. I would call it sick 3 days.
All right, so you were out then?
Yes, sir.
All right. The next page after that, McAllen, it says McAllen Police Department Daily Beat Assignment. What is this?
This form will reflect manpower for that particular day.
Okay.
it'll
And
show-
what day is this reflect?
This is the 7th of February, 2009.
Okay. And is Sergeant De La Rosa on this roster?
Yes, sir, he is.
Okay, he's there about in the middle of the page?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the 7th would have been the Saturday?
Yes, sir.
Is that the Saturday that you had expected him to work?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that Saturday is the subject of one of your IDCs, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And on this particular document, it shows him as being on vacation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now had you approved a vacation for him for that day?
No, sir.
What about the next page? Is it the
That's the
same?
following day on the 8th.
Okay, same kind of roster, but for the next day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is this the day that you had expected him to be the sergeant in charge?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Sunday.
that would have been Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that what is reflected in your email?
On the email, yes, on my email, I left him as, to be the sergeant in charge of the shift for Sunday. That's,
Okay. This email that you sent to your sergeants, does this have are these your orders or administrative directives for staffing purposes?
yes, sir.
Okay. And you are issuing these as the lieutenant in charge over the sergeants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this is to deal with or fulfill the staffing needs of the department on that particular shift. Is that correct?
I assigned one of the senior sergeants, or if not the senior sergeant, to take over during my absence.
Okay, but you tell your sergeants who is going to be the sergeant in charge on a particular
That is
shift.
correct, sir.
And that's what you had done here with Sergeant De La Rosa?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you were expecting him on Sunday to be the sergeant in charge
Yes, sir.
on the 8th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, behind that roster, there's another report. Let me make sure it's not a duplicate. I have two in my notebook. Should have another report dated March 2nd, 09, 3209. Do you see that? Next page.
After the beat assignment, or,
After the roster beat assignment for the 8th.
I don't know which one you're talking about. I have the AT&T detail.
Must be that 2% that's in the booklet.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I have the phone call detail on it, unless it's somewhere else.
Rick, our book is similar to his, the next page are those 2 pages of phone records.
recognize these phone records? Like, for example, do you
that's
know
my
whose
phone
phone
num-
number that is?
That's my, police, cell phone
Okay.
number?
This 874-8941, that's your police cell number?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so this is a listing of the calls to and from your cell phone?
I don't really know how it works, but that is my number, and those are calls, numbers I recognize, so yes.
Okay, and this appears to cover the February 7th and 8th time period, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
The second page of that appears to be the same thing,
Yes, sir.
but covering a later period, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the page after that shows what is the next page with the January 5 date?
That is, when we rotate, we submit a schedule. This one I submit to the captain, let him know who I have on the shift and tentatively their days off for the rotation.
Okay, so this is for shift 2, starting on January 5th, under your shift, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, and so then it's got everybody's name that would be under your authority, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then it shows who's working when and who's got off when, is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so here, for example, your name is at the top, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for this particular rotation, is the X in the Saturday, Sunday, does that mean that you're off on those days?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then if there's nothing in the box, it means you work on those days. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that the right way to read that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we know it's shift 2, so the shift is going to be the 2 to 10 shift.
No, sir.
No? Which is shift 2?
Shift 2 is a 6 to 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the 6 to 2 is the shift 2?
Shift 2 is a day shift, 6 to 2.
Okay, I'm sorry, all right. And shift 1 is which one?
The, what we call a graveyard shift from 10 to 6 in the morning.
Okay, so 1 is the graveyard shift, and then 2 is the day shift, and then 3 is the evening shift?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got you. And as far as Sergeant De La Rosa, he's shown as having what days off during this shift period?
It shows Thursday and Friday.
Okay. So when we looked at the Kronos report earlier, where he had indicated that he had worked on Friday the 6th, that would have been his day off under this particular rotation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would offer the exhibits under tab 9 of notebook 2.
Mr. Arbitrator, I think we had previously voiced that objection on the 180-day rule, and we still put that forward. But one housekeeping measure just occurred to me is he has his phone records in here, which if any of this becomes public or ends up in a personnel file and the public has access to it, those are identifiers that should be redacted under the Open Records Act, obvious reasons to protect these officers. So any of these phone records in here that are being introduced, I know Sergeant De La Rosa has a page or two also. We need to redact those numbers so the public doesn't get them.
Any problem with that?
Do you care? Do you care when it's Yeah, he's saying it's a public file, and so do we care about these phone numbers?
I don't disagree with that, but ultimately that will fall on the Civil Service Director, whom is the custodian of the file. Any releases come from him, so he is the one that would have to exercise your request.
That's fine. I think it's required under the Open Records Act to redact identifiers for police officers. So,
I don't have a problem with the request. I understand the concern. I don't know
and then one other
how
matter.
enforceable it is, but
Well, I'm trying to protect the chief's lieutenant from some bad guy getting his phone number, so if you don't care about it, that's fine. But that extra page you have in there, we'd like to see that too, in the event that it's in, Mr. Bennett's book.
It's not.
What extra page are you talking?
You said something about a March 2nd record or something?
Yeah, I have another copy in my notebook. Let me ask him if he recognizes it. Apparently it didn't get copied. Let me show you this other memo. An IDC dated 3/2/09 with your name on it. Subject reporting for duty. Is that your IDC?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Would this be one that you did after? Well, I'm sorry, I think
Same
it is
one.
in here.
It is the
It is
same
in
one.
here. You should have a 3/2/09.
Where is it?
That same one.
It's in this notebook. Sir, do you have a 3/2/09?
If that's the one you're talking about, I do have it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, and the 3/2/09 memo is ahead of the email that we were talking about earlier. Is that correct? The 3/2/09 memo is in front of the email that I was asking you about earlier.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. I think I got confused.
All right, back to the redaction request. It sounds reasonable to me. Let's see if we can handle it with a stipulation. Your point in offering that document was to show what?
It's just a document that he used to refresh his memory about what calls he got to corroborate when certain things happened. Did you, I mean, that's the sole purpose. It's just independent corroborating evidence to get down the timing of things. I think his IDCs reflect having received calls from Sergeant De La Rosa at certain times with respect to some of these incidents, or not having received calls.
Well, that's what I thought. Are you trying to show that he did not receive calls from the appellant on the 7th and 8th?
That's correct.
All right, can we stipulate that he did not receive, that this document reflects he did not receive calls from the appellant on the 7th and 8th? If it does, if you can stipulate to that, we can withdraw this document and not have it redacted.
Yes, we'll stipulate to that.
Would that suffice?
This to show that Lucas Torres called me Sunday morning, asking about it. I think he said about 11, something in the morning. That Sergeant Torres called me.
Don't you put 96, 96 in there?
Can you read that one? Right.
I take that back, Mr. Arbitrator. Number 186 is one of Sergeant De La Rosa's cell phones.
On what day?
The 8th.
Well, we can stipulate to that.
It appears he called him at 12:28 p.m.
Do those phone records reflect also calls from other officers, like Lucas Torres or anybody else that you spoke to around that time?
Yes, it does. On number 170 and 27, it shows at 11:54 hours a.m. Sergeant Torres called me from his phone on the 7th.
Why don't we
Why don't
do
we-
this?
We can
Why don't you
stipulate.
just have him identify the officers that the telephone records reflect that he talked to.
Without admitting?
Yeah,
the
without
document?
admitting this document.
Okay.
That
I'll
was-
withdraw the offer as to the phone records, with the understanding that he may need to refer to it to testify.
Any objection?
I have no objection to that.
Okay. So these will not be part of the exhibit. I withdraw the offer as to the phone records in terms of actually putting them in the record. I would offer the remaining documents.
The objection was as to the 180 days, and we've already decided how we're going to handle that. Do you have any objection to these documents?
No.
All right. Subject to deciding the 180-day issue, they'll be admitted.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's go back to the front now of those IDCs, Lieutenant. I apologize for that confusion. Going back to your IDC of December 17th, '08, can you tell us what this IDC describes? What was your first involvement with this incident involving Officer Castaneda?
I received a call that evening from Sergeant de la Rosa reporting to me that Officer Castaneda was involved in an accident. He said it was a hit-and-run accident.
Okay. When did you receive that call?
On my document show about 8 o'clock. I don't really know if that's
On what day?
on the December the 3rd.
Okay. Were you still, were you scheduled for duty at that time?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay. Were you still at work at that time?
I think I was at work, but I was fixing to leave for the day.
Okay. And what did Sergeant De La Rosa report to you?
He reported that Officer Carina's vehicle was damaged, that it was a hit and run, that it possibly happened at Luby's, which is, I believe, where they discovered it.
Okay.
And
Is that what he told you, that the damage had been discovered at Luby's?
yes, sir.
Okay. And what else did he tell you?
And when he said that it possibly happened in Luby's, and he also mentioned Regional Hospital, which is where, I believe, two places where Carina said she had left her vehicle unattended.
Okay. Do you know where he was when he called you?
Luby's,
Okay.
that,
Was that your understanding?
yes.
Okay. So what happened next? What else did he tell you?
Well, the way he reported to me, it appeared that it was not certain that it happened at Luby's, but they had reason to believe it happened at Luby's.
Okay.
So the first thing I told him was to look for cameras, check around for cameras, see if anything was, those two places, try to determine where it happened, look around for cameras.
What kind of cameras?
Well, most businesses, a lot of parking lots have cameras on the outside, and they capture a lot of things that happen in the parking lots.
Did-
So that was,
Did you make that suggestion to him?
yes, sir, I did.
All right. And what did he respond, or what did he say?
I remember I asked him if there was a lot of damage, and he said, yes, the push bar is almost torn off. So,
Okay.
and I think he hung up, and then he called me shortly after, maybe 10 minutes, I don't know how long.
All right.
He called me and he said that,
Did you, in other words, you received a second phone call from him?
Either he called me or I called him, but I know he probably called me a second time. I'm not 100% certain. But he said he was reporting it did not happen at Luby's. I guess maybe a camera. I don't know, they reviewed any recording of a camera. I understand now. I went out there myself after
Later,
everything,
okay.
and there was a camera out there. So I don't know if they reviewed the footage of the camera or not, but he told me that it had not happened at Luby's.
So when he called you back, or when you spoke to him the second time, had he ruled out Luby's as the place where this accident may have happened? This
Yes, sir.
crash? All right. And that's what he conveyed to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what happens next?
So then, the way it sounded, because I was listening to the radio, even if I was on my way home or I was still at the station, I'm not 100% certain. I think he told communications that he was going to a regional hospital,
Okay.
and he said that, if I remember correctly, that Officer Carina would be busy and with an accident. And I remember communications asked him if it was a fleet accident.
Okay.
And
This is communications being.
communications, a dispatcher asking, because they are supposed to, we are required by policy to report immediately to communication, fleet
Okay.
accident. And, by the tone of his voice, he was a little upset. That's how it sounded to me, like, he didn't want to answer the question as far as it a fleet accident or not. He said, I already talked to my supervisor.
You heard this over the radio?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then I remember communications, I think sort of implied, because after an accident, officers are required, when they're operating a vehicle, to have a drug testing, what we call the NTC. And communications, most of the time makes arrangements, if not all the time, they make arrangements for us to they call the company to meet us out there at their office to take the,
Is that departmental policy that if a driver of a vehicle is involved in an accident, that they are to be immediately drug tested?
yes, sir.
And are the arrangements for that drug test made, through communications?
Normally it's made through communications. And I think communication was implying, do you want us to make arrangements? And I don't think he told them yes. I think he said something like, I'll do it myself, or I'll take care of it myself, or he didn't really want to answer whatever communication was trying to.
Okay. Are you
In my
listening-
opinion, they're trying to help out, do their job. It's our responsibility.
Okay. So are you listening to this over the radio?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you have any further discussions with Officer De La Rosa?
No, sir, I don't think I went home.
Well, your report indicates that you told him to take photographs. Do you recall doing that?
It's required by policy. If my IDC says that, yes, I probably did, but
Okay.
we are required. It's automatic by supervisor. He knows he has to photograph.
All right. Okay. Well, and then just to kind of put this in perspective, I mean, you're describing to us what was happening on the evening of December 3rd, correct? Your testimony here is you're describing what happened on the evening of December 3rd. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But your IDC here is, you didn't reduce this to writing until December 17th,
Yes, sir.
correct? Okay. So in your IDC, you're now describing what happened a couple of weeks before or 10 days before. Is that correct?
When I typed the IDC, it's probably not on the 3rd. I'm documenting what I went through
Okay.
on the 3rd. Yes.
It's finalized. I mean, if you know when you started it, that's fine, but it's really not, it's not finalized until December 17th. Is that right? About the time that you sign it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what what else did you do that evening? What other involvement did you have that evening?
I was heading home and I started thinking, I've been here 28 years and it is not common, to me it's not common for, a hit and run is not a common, especially when there's extensive damage on a unit. Just, I don't think I have ever investigated a hit and run myself. So I started thinking that it was unusual for a hit and run accident to occur. I had never investigated one before, as far as a fleet accident, hit and run, that I can think of. I have worked with Sergeant de la Rosa, and this particular time he was assigned to me, I worked about 15 months with him, and he had been assigned to me prior to that. I don't know if it was 2005, 2006.
Okay.
And everything that when I started thinking about everything on my way home, I would have felt that his voice would have sounded different from how I know him. He would have probably immediate action, look for paint on the vehicle. This vehicle, the hit and run is possibly blue, red, whatever color. McAllen put a lookout, possibly a vehicle still maybe in the area, damaged. Let's get things rolling. That's the way he normally would have worked, in my opinion, the situation.
Based on your experience
Yes.
in working with him. Okay. So you noticed a difference,
Yes.
okay? So what did you do next, or what happened next?
I remember I called Sergeant Torres that night.
Okay, why did you call him?
I called him to sort of let him know that there was a reported hit and run accident, that I had already questions regarding that accident. I just felt that I had questions regarding that accident, and I just sort of asked him to see if he could. Officers say things, they talk about things. Basically, keep your eyes open, your ears open, see. I just don't like what we have here, basically.
Would you describe that as basically putting him on an alert, or advising him of
I'm gonna object to leading.
And
Please try not to lead.
also,
Well,
Castañeda.
so let me ask it this way. So what was the purpose, what was the point of you advising Sergeant Torres about what had been communicated to you? What did you expect
Well,
him to do?
one thing, Castañeda, I believe, was one of Sergeant's officers, Sergeant Torres' officers. In paper, if I remember correctly, Castañeda, Sergeant Torres would have been her immediate supervisor.
Okay. What does that mean as far as?
If you notice, a beat
him,
assigned.
Torres versus any other sergeant on that shift?
Well, on paper, we assign certain officers to certain sergeants.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, on paper, Castañeda falls directly under Sergeant Torres. However, we don't really, if a sergeant's available or a sergeant's busy, any sergeant can take the responsibility, at least in my shift.
Okay.
Okay? But Sergeant Torres, I don't think he knew anything about it. It appeared to me that he didn't even hear it on the radio.
When the sergeants are all on duty on the same shift, then, and then there's officers that are on that shift, on paper, are they tied to a specific sergeant as being the
On paper,
supervisor?
yes.
Okay. In practicality, how does it work on these shifts?
If the sergeant's busy and one of that sergeant's person needs help, any other supervisor is available, can go ahead and handle whatever they need.
Okay. Does an officer, and let me ask it another way, so does an officer have an obligation to follow the directives of any sergeant that happens to get involved in a particular incident?
Yes, sir.
Do they have equal authority over the officers?
Yes, sir.
Is the officer, put another way, is the officer able to say, well, you're not my supervising sergeant, so, you know, I don't need to listen to you, I need to listen to my supervisor? Does that happen?
It could happen, but it's not common that it happens. That I have personal knowledge about it, no.
Okay, that's not the practice.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So essentially, all sergeants have equal authority over all officers when they're on duty.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so what happens after you advise Torres of this?
On that day, for the third, that's about it for that day.
Okay, as far as what you did that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and so are you done for that evening? That's it, that's the last communication that you had?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's the next time that you're engaged with this issue?
I was working patrol on Friday.
Okay. December the 5th?
Yes, sir.
All right. Same shift?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And I believe that evening Sergeant Torres was working the mall security. We got hired on Christmas time to work extra duty at the mall. And
Okay.
he called me and he said it was important he needed to talk to me to make my way to the mall area.
He asked you to come to the mall?
Yes.
All right. Did you?
I went out there, yes.
Okay, what happened?
And he told me that he had talked to Sergeant Barajas out there at the mall. And then,
Is Barajas a sergeant or is he an
I'm
officer?
sorry, to Officer Barajas,
Okay, that's Julio Barajas?
Julio Barajas.
Okay,
And then Julio Barajas had told him that, I believe that Officer, I want to say Karina because her last name changed and I don't know at what point, I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly.
I think some of the documents, just to be clear about this, are Castañeda Hernandez or Hernandez, just Karina Hernandez.
Right,
Is
I'm
that
going to
right?
refer to her as Karina.
Okay,
That Officer Karina was, I think he said she was crying out there at the mall. And that she was bothered by something and it had to do with the accident on the 3rd. And at that point, Barajas informed Torres that Karina had been involved in other accidents that he felt were not reported or they were covered up.
okay. Did that surprise you?
Yes,
Had you heard about any other incidents with Officer Karina before this time?
I had heard about the one at, what was reported to me, Sergeant de la Rosa on July regarding the dumpster.
Okay, and you did a separate IDC on that?
No, I didn't do any IDC until all this came about.
Right, after all this, eventually you did an IDC on that incident?
After
Okay,
this date,
we'll get
yes.
to that. Let's talk about the December 5th, and, okay, you're at the mall, you're with Torres. What else, what other information are you learning then?
That Barajas reported that Karina had informed him I guess they communicated between themselves quite well. It appears that she would tell him things that maybe she didn't tell supervisor, maybe she didn't tell me, and that she was bothered because she had that accident on the 3rd, and that Barajas brought up that she had had some prior accidents.
Okay.
And that's what Torres needed to talk to me about, that
Okay.
Barajas felt that some of those accidents were not reported.
Okay.
They were covered up, and
Would that be a problem if there had been other crashes involving fleet vehicles that were not reported?
yes, sir.
All right. So did that concern you?
Yes, sir.
So what did you do next?
there's a lot of things that happened between, that Friday and Monday.
Okay, well, let's break it down and go through those as best you know, using your reports and your testimony, I want you to explain to the hearing examiner what happened, as far as your involvement, sir.
Okay, at that point, I told Sergeant Torres that based on the fact that, now we were told about other accidents, and based on what I felt on the third that something was not right, that I just didn't like what was being reported to me. I felt that it was not what had happened. I just felt something different. I told Sergeant Torres that it was important enough to where I told him to go directly to the chief on Monday and report it directly to him.
Okay?
I told him, don't worry about the chain of command. You have my authority. It's very important. We cannot wait Monday morning. Go straight to the chief and report it to him.
Okay? And you communicated that to Torres?
Yes, sir.
Would that have been on the 5th?
That was probably, yes, Friday, the 5th. That's when we talked about it, when we met at the mall.
All right. Well, your IDC, okay, and Lester, is there anything else that happens on the 5th as far as your involvement here? On Saturday,
No, that's Saturday the
Friday
6th.
the 5th, is there anything else?
I cannot remember anything else other than he was authorized by me to go straight to the chief. And he asked about the captain. I go, no, we're not going to go through that route. We're going to go straight to the chief. I don't want to delay it anymore. I'm off on Monday.
Why did you feel at that point that you wanted him to report it straight to the chief?
Because now that Barajas had brought up that there was reason to believe that it was a cover-up on the other accidents, to not report to the chief would have made us, if we ignored it later on, it could have been said that we covered up knowing what we thought had happened, and we didn't do anything about it. So
Okay.
our duty, our responsibility was to report it right away.
So in other words, did you feel that you had acquired enough information at that point that you needed to relay that up the chain of command?
Immediately, yes.
Did the concern that you had involve your own obligations as a lieutenant?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, what, anything else on Friday the 5th that happened that you can recall or need to explain?
No, sir, I don't.
What about the next day, on Saturday the 6th? Your IDC mentioned something there.
Yes, on Saturday the 6th, Sergeant Torres returned from his days off. I was still on duty because I was off, I believe, Sunday and Monday. So Saturday we both worked.
Okay?
We're both on duty. And since I felt the way I felt about the accident, that it was not correctly reported, I wanted to see the damage on the union.
Okay.
So I
Is
took
this the
Sergeant.
first time that you're gonna see the damage on
I believe so. I don't think I had gone until I took Sergeant Torres with me. I told him, let's go look at the damage. I still don't believe in a hit and run accident. The way Sergeant De La Rosa reported, the push bar was almost torn off. I just had to see the damage myself and see what I had out there. We went out there
To the
to the
warehouse?
warehouse. We went out to the warehouse, and yes, we found a unit out there, which was Unit 26, I believe. And we looked at the damage.
What did you see?
We did see what Sergeant De La Rosa reported. The right side of the push bar was, well, it was damaged. A lot of damage to it. Like he said, almost torn off. It was
bent out,
bent,
all right?
and we noticed there was green paint, red paint, and some green and red paint. And I don't know if it was a little bit of black, but I think the push bars are black, so it
Okay.
might have had to do with a push bar. And
So what did you do next?
we examined it, we photographed it, and based on our experience as investigating accidents, it didn't look to us like it was consistent with the vehicle, the bumper of a car backing up into it. It just didn't look right. It looked more like, to us, like a fixed object. We talked about the possibility of fire hydrants, any other fixed objects that, and we talked about the unit probably going off the roadway, turning sharply to the left, making a U-turn. We talked about all that. It wasn't consistent with backing up of a vehicle, according to our experience investigating accident.
Okay.
We figured it was turning to the extreme left while maybe going off the roadway while making a U-turn. That's the way we felt it happened.
So did you bring somebody else in?
Right there at the warehouse, we called Officer Hernandez, Joe Hernandez.
Who was he?
Joe Hernandez has had training, special training. He's a accident reconstruction officer,
Okay.
and I got him involved. At that point, when we were at the warehouse, I called him. I told him, I need your help. I don't agree with this accident. I just looked at the damage. I'm out here, and I'm still, I know that I need your help right now. It is not consistent from a car backing up into the patrol car.
Okay.
There is,
Was Hernandez on duty?
no, sir, he was not. He was already home. He was working days.
All right.
And he was off Friday and Saturday. He returned to work on Sunday, and I told him to look at it as early as possible Sunday when he returned to work.
All right.
I
So
don't
you're
know
the
what-
person responsible for ordering him to involve, or getting him involved in this investigation?
I didn't hear the
Are
first
you
part.
the person responsible for ordering him or authorizing him to do some work on this?
Yes, I'm the one that asked for his help. Yes.
All right. So did you at some point meet with him or talk with him directly?
I talked to him by phone that day.
Okay. And did you tell him, how he should go about doing his work, or did you leave that up to him?
I just
What
gave-
is it that you asked him to do? In other words, just describe what it is that you asked him to do.
I asked him to look at the damage on the car.
Okay?
I asked him to go to the regional hospital and look at the parking lot and see if it was possible for a car backing up to hit the unit or the patrol unit in that area and cause that kind of damage.
Okay?
And I don't think it's here, but on that same day, Saturday, on Saturday, Sergeant Torres and I got an activity report from Officer Castañeda to sort of show us what calls she handled on Saturday, and we went through the routes trying to find the object, the fire hydrant, or any other fixed object that we thought that she could have caused the damage.
All right?
We
Had you
went
talked to
through,
her by this time?
no, we hadn't.
Had you reviewed any IDC done by her or any other report done by her?
There was no IDC yet that I know of, no,
All right. You didn't have that?
no.
Okay.
And we went out there and looked around. We didn't find anything out there that we could have said, yes, these are the tire tracks, this is a freshly damaged whatever object was out there. No, we couldn't find anything. It shows on my IDC also that we went to Cazadores, which was the other accident was reported by Baracas.
Okay.
And just to see if it was consistent with what he was reporting, yes, there was a dumpster out there.
Okay. Who were you with when you?
Sergeant Torres.
Okay.
And
Well, you mentioned here that on Saturday the 6th, you called Officer Jade Rodriguez, who was relieved at the hospital by Officer Castaneda on December 3rd.
yes,
Did you have contact with him?
yes, he was the officer that was guarding a prisoner when Officer Castaneda was sent to the hospital to relieve him.
All right.
She was going to take over. And we just wanted to hear from Joe Rodriguez exactly where, when he was relieved, exactly where Castaneda's car was parked. That day he pointed out to us exactly where the car was parked.
Did he indicate to you that he had seen the car?
Yes.
Okay. And where did he say it was?
He said it was parked facing west, facing south on the south side of the regional hospital.
Okay. What else did you do on that day?
On Saturday, I don't, other than going through the route that we thought that she took, according to the activity report, I don't think we did anything else, because then I don't think I cannot remember anything else that we,
Okay. Your report appears to contain some information that you may have gotten from other people before you actually finished this report.
yes, sir,
Is that correct?
yes.
So, some of the things that you're reciting in this report then are based on things that were told to you by other officers, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, some of these things in here, you were not personally doing these things. This is just information relayed to you, correct?
On Saturday, I was with Sergeant Torres, like I said, going over the route, examining the damage in the car.
All right.
On Sunday, I was off.
Okay, so Sunday you weren't,
Sunday, I was off on the 7th when I just documented what Sergeant Torres told me he had done, but I wasn't there on Sunday.
all right. And it appears that you were at this point also looking more into what had happened at Cazadores restaurant then?
I went out there afterwards, I don't remember what date, I kept on going out there trying to figure out how things could have happened out there.
And did you also attempt to look into the other incident at Spirits or someplace called Spirits?
Spirits had an alarm out there. And yes, I got in touch with Officer Macias, who said he reported once again to Sergeant Torres that on that date he had gone out there and that it appeared to him that Karina's car had moved. I took him out there for him to show me exactly where he saw the car, and there was no report of damage on that day. I looked at the area where he said he pointed out where the car had possibly come in contact with a column of the building. He said the car was against the building. I didn't see any damage. I went inside. I talked to a lady that was inside the office, and she told me no, there's no damage. The building hasn't been repainted. There's no work done on it. There's no damage. Nobody reported damage to the car, to the unit. So, yes, at that point I felt that maybe the car did rest upon the column of the building, but no damage caused by the
Okay.
car or the building.
If you'll turn the page, your next report is one dated January 9, 2009. You see that?
Yes, sir.
I think this would be a good time to take a break.
A short break?
All right,
Okay.
10 minutes.